welcome to War Groove. We're looking at Sedge. Now, if you don't know what Sedge's groove does, I recommend checking out this video, which will give you an analysis of Sedge's groove. But going through it really quick, we can assassinate anything 35% health or below, and then get a chain kill. Now, if you're using these numbered health bars instead of the more colorful health bars, you'll notice that 35 rounds down to 3, while 36 rounds up to 4. So if you see a 3 or lower on your numbered bar here, you know you can safely assassinate it with Sedge. Obviously, because Sedge works on resets, and because their groove takes a very long time to get, you do not want to expend Sedge's groove except under 3 circumstances. 1, you get a reset. 2, you will die if you don't. And 3, you will win if you do. Now let's take a look at units that synergize very well with Sedge. Sedge loves the following units. Witches. Witches are great with Sedge. Harpies, archers, alchemists, dogs, and swords. Now this doesn't mean you shouldn't build anything else, but just that these units have the best synergy with Sedge. If your opponent's unit is just a little bit too tanky for Sedge to fully assassinate, a witch is the ideal candidate. Using Hex reduces everything by a flat 10%. Meaning that, in conjunction with a witch, Sedge can now chain kill anything, not 35% or less, but 45% or less, as long as you can get the Hex off. Now you'll often run into situations where you can only attack a unit from one side, and Sedge needs to be the killer to attack from that one side in order for him to reset off it. However, an archer, with its superior range, can help you get around that problem, enabling Sedge to kill things that are only vulnerable from one side. Also, archers, like witches, are great at chipping units down if they need a little bit more damage on them. Now, another great thing you can do is build Harpies with Sedge. Harpies used to be weak in 1.3, and they're a little bit stronger in the upcoming season patch 2.0. But Sedge has always loved Harpies, because Harpies rarely kill units. However, they often do enough damage to get units below 35%, especially in conjunction with other attacks. Now, another thing Sedge really loves are Alchemists. Alchemists are not only very fast, high movement attacking units, which is great with Sedge because they can hit things from far away, and Sedge loves that, but also they can heal, and the ability to suddenly change the health of some of your units is ridiculously good, because it'll let you control more powerfully getting stuff down to that 35% you need. Like I said before, Sedge loves fast attacking units, so that means swords and dogs are a definitive plus. And if we couldn't finish it off, that's okay. Sedge comes in to clean up, and now he gets to move again. Using these unit combinations with Sedge can give you crazy chain grooves that make Sedge an unstoppable force. But let's see how these techniques are used in an actual game.
This recording was taken from a match live on Shu's Twitch stream. Shu is one of the top Wargroove players in the present meta. And Sedgehoon, their opponent, is possibly the best Sedge player around. Notice the extreme number of witches being used, hex after hex, to control unit health and get as many Sedge chains as possible. So many alchemists, so many archers. Looks like a few pikes, but really for this stage in 1.3, that's actually a small number of pikes. They're focusing more on the swords, the witches, the alchemists, the archers. Look what's on the front lines right now, and how they're using those swords and alchemists to run really far up to the enemy, hit something, get it just low enough for Sedge to chain kill. Not low enough yet? No problem. Another witch hex. Now we can kill it. Sedge is so scary when you have 3 witches. 3 witches! So anything 65% health or lower insta-dies to Sedge. And then Sedge ends its turn by walking onto a mountain and smacking the opposing co to force them to retreat. And then just moves this Zerg force up. An important thing to note about this game, Sedge was behind on income and unit count, but gave up both naval fronts to create this giant, aggressive Zerg on land. It was crazy, and the epitome of excellent Sedge play. Alright, so remember that alchemist healing shenanigans we talked about before. Take a look at that blue alchemist towards the south, right? It just got witch hexed, and there's not a lot that can hit it, and Sedge definitely wants to use it as a refresh point so that he can jump along and continue to chain kill things in the enemy army. So he heals that sword, gets it just high enough to attack the enemy alchemist, but the enemy alchemist is still at a 4. It's still just a little bit too high to take out. So what does Sedge do? Another witch hex. They used all the techniques we talked about. Now Sedge can chain kill that alchemist and is right near the enemy forces, able to get even more chain killing. That was really difficult to pull off. They had to do it perfectly. And now that Sedge is near the enemy army, they can hit that balloon, they can hit everything else. And now Shu has all these really low units that have sat through maybe 2 turns worth of multiple witch hexes. They're so low, the swords are just running up to them, tapping them, and Sedge takes them out. Sure, Sedge loses the sword, probably, but it doesn't really matter. And if you saw that preview screen a few frames ago, you saw Sedge was down on income, down on unit count. It sure as hell doesn't look it, right? Because Sedge gave up every other front to push this one. Because they can. Because Sedge can. Sedge can just give up every front, but go aggressive and make a push for the HQ, and just zerg forward. Another important and very subtle thing about the playstyle is Sedgehoon always ends Sedge's turn in a safe location. I remember from Sedgehoon's early games, and an early problem with Sedge is players would overextend, go too aggressive, and Sedge would just get lethaled. But one of the great things about Sedge having resets is after you attack, you can run backwards behind the safety of your own troops. Remember how Sedge ended their turn at full health on a mountain, and all the alchemists can be used to keep you high on health. That's yet another reason Sedge loves alchemists, because Sedge doesn't have a healing factor like Mercia or DM or Sigrid, so Sedge needs to stay alive, especially since they have to stay near the front lines to use their groove. Alchemists are great for that reason. But you also have to consider that a lot of thought is going into this. Every unit you move opens up a space for another unit to move. You have to consider where Sedge is going to stand at every given point in time. You can't block Sedge's space, or Sedge won't be able to move. I'm making this sound really easy and overpowered, but it's not. Playing Sedge is incredibly difficult. You have to manage your money, you have to manage your troops, you have to manage risk and aggression at all times. It's not easy to play Sedge, but when you do it right, when you play Sedge well, you can definitely become an incredibly powerful force. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you learned some great tips and tricks on how to play Sedge. We'll definitely see a lot more Sedge players in the next patch, where Sedge Groove is changed from very slow to slow, making it a powerful contender. Stay tuned, and welcome to Wargroove.